You know if George Smith was murdered?
I'd like to invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
Were you present when George Smith was killed?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
A once-in-a-lifetime trip became the last one for some. Today we're covering 4 of the worst honeymoon murders. Number 4, tropical nightmare.
And what about you, Michaela? Have you got a man in your life at the moment?
I do. I do indeed.
Is he interested in football as much as you are?
He's definitely interested in football. He would have to be now to be any man of mine.
Michaela Hart was a former beauty queen, the daughter of football manager Mickey Hart. But a tragedy would get her unprecedented international coverage. Michaela and John McAreevy got married and picked the Legends Hotel in Mauritius as their honeymoon destination. But on January 10th, 2011, days into their vacation, John would make the most horrific discovery.
This is the room where Michaela was murdered.
She was found strangled in the bathroom. Her husband was cleared, and it was soon revealed that a master key card was used minutes before Michaela entered the room, meaning that this was an inside job. Here's what the investigators believed.
A hotel insider, we think perhaps a security officer who had access to keys, entered the premises, entered this room at 2:42 p.m. 2 minutes later, Michaela entered the room. So we hid in the bathroom. She decided she would use the toilet, go into the toilet for whatever reason. The killer was startled. Michaela started to run. The thief panicked.
Local police immediately arrested Avinash Tribhuwan, Sandeep Munier, Raj Tikoi, and Dasan Narayan. Police believed the workers were part of a theft ring that targeted hotel guests, and that Michaela's case was a robbery gone wrong. But charges against Raj and Dasan were dropped. In the murder trial of 2012, Avinash and Sandeep were found not guilty, and to this day, the case remains unsolved. Number 3, under the water.
Tell the camera bye.
Bye, camera.
Blow the camera a kissy.
These were Tina and Gabe Watson, a newlywed couple packing for their honeymoon in Queensland, Australia. On October 22, 2003, they went scuba diving, Gabe's favorite activity as a certified rescue diver. But something went wrong, and Tina panicked, lost consciousness, and sank to the bottom of the ocean. Nearby divers said that they saw Gabe giving his new bride a bear hug before she sank, and Gabe said he tried to help her and then raced out of the water looking for help.
The fight against the current is what allowed whatever thing took place that caused her to either black out.
But her family alleged that Tina asked them to increase her life insurance policy at Gabe's request before the trip. He went to trial in Australia where prosecutors accused him of turning off his wife's air supply. He pleaded guilty to manslaughter and served only 1 year in prison.
Well, the manslaughter standard that he pled guilty to is a very obscure Australian law that says that if you undertake a dangerous activity with someone, you have a significant responsibility to make sure that they're safe. Not that he killed her, but he didn't do enough to save her.
Back in the U.S., Gabe was charged with murder, but an Alabama judge dismissed the case.
Obviously, we're very disappointed.
Number 2, Web of Lies.
And it's been a nightmare. I can't sleep at nights, I can't even work.
Millionaire Shireen Duwani and his new bride Annie had their whole life ahead of them. After a lavish wedding, they traveled to South Africa for their honeymoon. Upon arrival, they met taxi driver Zola Tongo, who became their unofficial tour guide. November 13th, 2010 started out as a normal day for the newlyweds, until Zola suggested sightseeing in Gugulethu, an unusual choice given the high crime rate. On their way, 2 armed men hijacked the taxi, drove it for a bit, and ejected Zola and Shireen after robbing him. The hijackers then drove off with Annie still in the backseat. A traumatized Shireen alerted the police and their families of the kidnapping. The next morning, the taxi was found with Annie's body in it. Fingerprints led police to Kolele Mngeni and Mizawamadode Kwabe, who said that Zola was also involved. When arrested, Zola dropped a bombshell. He said that the husband planned the whole thing and Shireen was arrested. The co-conspirators testified against Shireen during the trial, but they committed perjury.
Gave evidence to the court which is so improbable and contains so many mistakes, lies and inconsistency that one simply cannot know where the lies end and where the truth begins.
Shireen was acquitted and the 3 co-conspirators were sent to prison. Number 1, Lost.
You can't look at the water and at the sea without remembering what happened to George. It's got too many bad memories for me now.
It started like similar stories, a fairy tale wedding and the larger-than-life plans. Jennifer Hagel and George Smith picked a Mediterranean cruise for their honeymoon, where they made new friends. On July 4th, 2005, they spent time drinking at the casino. But Jennifer allegedly flirted with a crew member, and George argued with her, so she stormed off, leaving him with their 4 friends. The friends took an intoxicated George back to his cabin.
After we dropped him off, the second time, we closed the door, we never saw him. Never saw him again. End of story. That was it. Never saw him again.
In the early hours of the morning, a large thud was heard, and a passenger found a large stain off the balcony of George's cabin. Jennifer was found passed out from drinking, and George was never found. Detectives immediately knew he'd gone overboard and suspected foul play.
I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that my son was murdered on that cruise ship.
The four friends claimed that after leaving George alone, they ordered room service. But records showed that even though they called room service, they didn't order anything.
Do you know if George Smith was murdered?
I'd like to invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
Were you present when George Smith was killed?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
George Allen Smith did not disappear or kill himself or hurt himself or slip and fall.
Investigators believe that George may have been a target of a robbery gone wrong, but no one was charged for his disappearance, and his body was never found.